Tonight on NewsWatch Ole Miss, the Pumpkin Water Association finally reached a decision on its future after a vote last night. We'll take a look at the details of that customer vote.
Recovery from the winter storm that rocked North Mississippi and Memphis is stalling as another winter storm blows through the mid and upper South. Find out what you can expect coming up.
Calling for both sides to de-escalate only gives Russia a pass. Russia is the aggressor here.
The United Nations General Assembly met again today as Russia moves closer to full-scale invasion in Ukraine. The latest on the budding conflict is straight ahead. NewsWatch Ole Miss starts now.
Good evening and welcome to NewsWatch Ole Miss. I'm Mason C&O.
And I'm Hannah Deere. After years of distributing a supply of inadequate water, the Pumpkin Water Association is dissolving and being acquired by the city of Oxford. The PWA allowed customers to vote on dissolving the company. Customers voted 431-3 in favor of Oxford taking over their water services. The decision has been a long time coming. PWA customers have been paying more than twice as much as Oxford residents for discolored laundry and broken appliances resulting from the poor quality of the water. The City of Oxford will officially begin servicing PWA customers around December 2022 or early 2023.
An update on the Family Dollar distribution saga. A new FDA report shows that Family Dollar officials knew of a rodent problem in the company's West Memphis, Arkansas distribution center since January 2020. The problem forced employees of the facility to stop using its break room from March 2021 to January 2022. Pest control captured over 3,200 rats at the center. The issue resulted in products containing rodent droppings and gnawed items, with the company having to recall FDA-regulated products. Also included in the report is that medications housed in the facility became tainted due to too warm temperatures. Hundreds of Family Dollar stores across the South are closed as they remove certain products from their shelves.
Memphis is still recovering from February 3rd's intense ice storms that left thousands of residents without power. According to Action News 5, the city of Memphis says the cost of cleanup will be between $10 and $12 million. The federal government will pay for 87.5% of the cost. The city of Memphis will cover the remaining 12.5%. This week's severe weather has slowed the cleanup process. 21 trucks will be working for the next 30 to 45 days, removing debris street by street. So far, more than 100,000 cubic yards of storm debris have been collected.
If you've been out and about today, you've noticed a huge change in the weather. There's been a 35-degree drop in temperatures in Oxford after hitting a high of 75 degrees yesterday, with temps just barely climbing over 40 today. Thankfully, Oxford has been spared from the sleet and wintry mix grappling the Mid-South region. Parts of southern Missouri, East Arkansas, and the Memphis metro are seeing serious winter weather, including ice and even thunder sleet. Although Oxford won't see the worst of it, we'll see consistent rain tonight and tomorrow.
25-year-old Memphis resident Devontae Bonds is up for immediate release from custody as of today. He was taken in on February 18th following a January 19th report about a damaged vehicle in Cotton Creek Cove. Bonds was issued a felony malicious mischief warrant and a $2,000 bond.
In coronavirus news, campus COVID numbers remain low. The university shows 6 active confirmed cases. Over the past 7 days, there have been only 6 new infections, down from the 11 in the previous 7-day span. Across Mississippi, the State Department of Health is reporting 542 new cases today, slightly up from the average of 470 positive tests in the previous 4-day period.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is updating its COVID-19 vaccine guidance, allowing for an interval period as long as 8 weeks between first and second doses of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Previously, the CDC recommended second doses be administered 3 weeks after the first Pfizer shot or 4 weeks after the first Moderna shot. Now, health officials are saying that the longer interval may reduce the risk of the heart inflammation myocarditis in males 12 to 39 years old. Shorter intervals are still recommended for immunocompromised individuals.
If you've tested positive for COVID, you may be at an increased risk for long-term heart problems. According to a study of over 153,000 veterans featured in the Nature Medicine journal, people who had COVID reported more cases of potentially fatal strokes, clotting, heart attacks, and pulmonary embolisms than did those who have never contracted the virus. Experts say that people who have had COVID-19 and experience heart concerns should immediately seek medical attention.
Coronavirus infection isn't the only newly discovered cause of heart problems. A new study suggests that women who use infertility treatments may experience heart, blood pressure, and pregnancy complications down the line. CNN's Mary Maloney has the details.
Shining new light on infertility treatments. New research finds women who used assisted reproductive technology have increased risk for vascular and pregnancy-related complications compared to those who don't.
And these can include placental abruption or increased risk of C-section, small babies, preterm deliveries, things like that.
The study in the Journal of the American Heart Association found women who used infertility treatments had more pre-existing health conditions, including high blood pressure and diabetes when they started the treatment. The women were also 38% more likely to need a cesarean delivery and 26% more likely to have the baby born prematurely. Infertility specialist Dr. Sigal Klipstein says that's not surprising.
The findings are confirming things that we already know, that women who have cardiovascular risk factors when they're entering a pregnancy do have increased risks.
This study also found increased risk for women who underwent fertility treatments even when they had no pre-existing symptoms of heart disease. Dr. Klipstein says underlying infertility, not the fertility treatment, is often what's linked to worse outcomes. A key limitation of the study was that it did not compare different fertility treatments. Dr. Klipstein says that's an important distinction.
A woman who maybe needed a short course of fertility pills and became pregnant very quickly is different from a woman who required multiple rounds of IVF.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Mary Maloney.
Researchers in the study compared 106,000 births where the mother used infertility treatments to more than 34 million births of children conceived without assisting technology.
For those who have wondered how the pandemic would affect learning and childhood development, we now have an idea. A study conducted on nearly 65,000 children aged 4 to 6 in Uruguay shows that children who attended preschool during the 2019 to 2020 school year saw a big drop in cognitive and motor development skills and learning attitudes. These children were compared to their counterparts who had been preschoolers during the 2018 to 2019 year before the pandemic. As expected, a culprit could be the school closures that forced children at home and attending school online.
The Oxford School District announced new school start and end times to accommodate teachers' professional learning communities. Oxford Intermediate School and Oxford Middle School will each run from 8:45 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Bramlett Elementary, Della Davidson Elementary, Central Elementary, and the new Oxford Early Childhood Center will release students at 2:20 p.m. rather than 2:35, while Oxford High School will start at 8:40 a.m. and finish at 3:41 p.m. These changes will go into effect at the start of the 2022-2023 school year.
The trial of 3 officers involved in the 2020 death of George Floyd is coming to a close. We'll have the latest details on that trial coming up. But first, here's a look at your current conditions.
Each year, hurricanes and major flooding threaten cities, towns, and rural homes across the Gulf states. So chances are there will be more storms and floods near here again. And between school, sports, and social lives, chances are you won't be with your kids when it happens. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids has all the educational tools and information to make the conversation easy. When the time comes, chances are they'll feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Times during class and I tell her to talk to him and it's like, oh, ew.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not my first time bartending, so
It's a sausage party in here.
it's fine. I'm very familiar.
Yeah, because you're a sexy girl, Sam. Last thing, totally last thing,
Yeah.
is that the music, when Momo kicks it into high gear, is going to get a little bit loud in here. So your customers are going to have a hard time hearing you. So you may want to
What?
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Jury deliberations began this morning in the trial of the 3 former Minneapolis police officers involved in George Floyd's death. CNN's Mandy Gaither has an update on the trial as it nears its close.
It's the final stages of the federal trial for 3 former Minneapolis officers charged with violating George Floyd's civil rights. In closing arguments, prosecutors told the jury Thomas Lane, J. Alexander King, and Tu Tao were all aware that unreasonable force was being used on Floyd by former officer Derek Chauvin, convicted earlier of Floyd's murder, and that each of them knew what procedures could help Floyd but chose not to act. The assistant U.S. attorney argued that Tao and King specifically had the ability, authority, opportunity, means, and duty to intervene. But the defense painted a different picture, arguing their clients were inexperienced or had inconsistent training and did not have intent to harm Floyd. Tao's attorney adding, just because something has a tragic ending doesn't mean it's a crime. All 3 ex-officers have pleaded not guilty to a charge of deprivation of rights under color of law for allegedly failing to administer medical aid to Floyd. Tao and King are also charged with failing to intervene in Chauvin's use of unreasonable force and have pleaded not guilty to that count as well. The 3 officers are being tried together. A guilty verdict could mean fines for the 3 officers and sentences of up to life in prison. I'm Mandy Gaither reporting.
That isn't the only high-profile police trial going on now. Jury selection is complete in the trial of former Louisville police officer Brett Hankinson in the raid that killed Breonna Taylor. Hankinson faces 3 counts of felon wanton endangerment for firing shots into a neighborhood apartment during the March 2020 raid. Hankinson did not fire the shots that killed Taylor, and his attorney expects him to testify in his own defense. Taylor, who was a 26-year-old EMT, died as a result of the no-knock search warrant that officers executed against her boyfriend. Thus far, Hankinson is the only officer to be charged in connection with the raid gone wrong.
In Texas, 19 police officers have been officially indicted for their actions during 2020 protests and riots in Austin following George Floyd's death. The officers each face 2 counts of aggravated assault by a public servant. They are accused of intentionally causing serious bodily harm. Austin's police chief stands by the officers and said he believes they did not violate the law. If the officers are convicted, they could face anywhere from 5 years of life to 5 years to life in prison and a fine of up to $10,000.
In international news, the United Nations General Assembly met today as countries across the world placed sanctions on Russia for its actions in eastern Ukraine. But the question remains, will sanctions work to deter Putin? CNN's Isabel Rosales has a look.
Tough new sanctions to pressure Russia to back down from its advances on Ukraine.
It's a very broad-ranging set of sanctions, deeper than anything we've seen before.
The sanctions, punishment for what President Joe Biden calls the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine.
When all is said and done, we're going to judge Russia by its actions, not its words.
For the first time, the U.S. fully sanctioning 2 Russian financial institutions. Russia barred from raising money from the West.
These costs are going to escalate from here.
The U.S. taking it further to cripple the flow of money to President Vladimir Putin by going after members of his inner circle and their families.
We put on notice the oligarchy in Russia that no one is safe.
world leaders actively assessing whether these sanctions will indeed deter Putin.
I think we should still try to deter, but we also should not assume it will work.
The country already paying a hefty price. This week alone, more than $25 billion has been wiped off the value of Russian stocks. And the Russian ruble has fallen to near record lows against the dollar.
Hit Russia's economy now and hit it hard.
The West reserving some of its toughest sanctions should Russia proceed to a full-scale invasion. The so-called nuclear option would remove Russia from a key global transaction ledger, making it difficult for banks to send money in or out of the country.
Russia's already feeling the pain.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
The United States continues to try diplomacy, but officials believe the window for a peaceful solution is quickly closing.
Gas prices have been on the rise, and the crisis in Ukraine is not helping. According to AAA, the current national average for gas prices is $3.53, 4 cents higher than last week and 90 cents more than the average this time last year. Financial sanctions that are already hitting Russia will only make prices climb higher, as the Kremlin may withhold oil from the world market, which is already struggling to stay afloat with demand. This would hike gas prices globally because Russia trails only the U.S. and Saudi Arabia in oil production.
The winter storm dropping ice and sleet on the Memphis area is part of a larger winter weather event stretching across a large swath of the country. It has resulted in over 1,500 canceled flights today and over 1,000 more already canceled for tomorrow. The airline that has taken the hardest hit is American, which expects to see a significant impact on business after what has already been a tumultuous period for American air carriers.
In more consumer news, Americans lost nearly $6 billion to fraud last year. Yes, you heard that correctly. The Federal Trade Commission marked a 70% increase in money lost to fraud between 2021 and 2022. The FTC says the most common fraud claims were from imposter scams and online shopping. Be aware of calls that say you owe money to the government or that someone in your family had an emergency. These are common tricks scammers use to get your personal information. Legitimized organizations don't ask for your personal information via phone, email, or text.
Demand for construction workers increased 51% since last year. Builders and contractors estimate that because of the hot housing market and President Biden's infrastructure bill, they will need more construction workers to meet that demand. Construction jobs pay $34 per hour on average, but they aren't easy to fill because of the regulations on the industry.
Coming up in sports, Coach Yo and the women's basketball team took down the Arkansas Razorbacks last night, improving their conference record to 9 SEC wins, and some former Rebel football players are putting the shoulder pads back on to play in the United States Football League. Find out more up next in sports.
I surrender.
All right, pal.
Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's up?
Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Can I play with it?
No, absolutely not. It's not a toy. You know that. Anyway, I need it to protect you, your sister and Mom.
But what about the 8 kids who get shot every day by mistake?
Where'd you hear that?
Where do you keep it?
It's hidden.
I bet it's on the top shelf of the closet, under your sweatshirts. Is it loaded? Remember when I found my Christmas gift? You always told me to be curious.
No, that's not what I meant.
And when it's just me and Mom, I could use the gun to protect her.
No, Justin, I promise. I'm always here for you.
But Dad, you're not always here.
There's an epidemic spreading. Scientists say it can change your brain. It can release dangerous chemicals like formaldehyde into your bloodstream. It can expose your lungs to acrolein, which can cause irreversible damage. It's not a parasite, not a virus, not an infection. It's vaping.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
As the COVID-19 vaccines become available, you might be asking yourself, should I get it? And if I do, will I be able to go about life without putting my family at risk? You've got questions, and that's normal. The fact is, the vaccines are safe and effective. They're going to save lives. To get the latest on the COVID-19 vaccines, visit getvaccineanswers.org, because getting back to the moments we miss starts with getting informed. It's up to you.
Due to yesterday's weather conditions in Oxford, Ole Miss's midweek matchup with the Arkansas State had been postponed to earlier today with first pitch at 1 p.m. It took Ole Miss just 5 innings to finish off the Red Wolves 15-5 before both coaches agreed to call it game after playing through the rain and a mid-game delay. Senior Kevin Graham hit a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 4th inning to extend Ole Miss's lead to 11-2. His second homer of the season ultimately sealed the ballgame for the Rebels. Ole Miss now improves to 4-0 on the season and will host VCU this weekend in a 3-game series. NCAA.com currently has the Rebels ranked number 3 in the entire nation. Taking the action over to the court, a collective effort on all sides of the ball lifted Ole Miss to hold off a strong Arkansas charge for a 70-62 victory in the Pavilion yesterday. With the win, the ladies hoops team earned its 9th win of the year, trying the most in a single season in the past 20 years. Now, Coach Yo has her team sitting at 21-6 on the season and 9-5 in conference play. Ole Miss now looks to extend their win streak to 4 when they take the floor for their final road game of the season, SEC season, with Thursday night Dayton Auburn. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Central Time on SEC Network Plus. And keeping the action on the hardwood, redshirt senior guard Mimi Reed was named to the 2022 SEC Community Service Team, the conference announced yesterday. Reed assisted the collection of items for the Feed the SIP food drive, donating non-perishable food items to the elementary schools throughout Tunica, Quitman, and Quitman County. The redshirt senior helped assemble baskets for families throughout the Oxford community through the Adopt a Basket program, donating over 70 boxes and baskets to local families. Reed also spent time at local elementary schools in Oxford during the morning carpool greet, welcoming children on their way to school. Serving things up on the tennis court, the Intercollegiate Tennis Coaches Association released its first computerized team rankings of the 2022 dual season, with Ole Miss's men's tennis placing at number 11 and women's tennis coming in at number 34. The ITIA rankings recognizes the top 75 programs in the nation as determined by a computerized scoring system. The men's squad has improved 4 positions from their previous ranking of number 15 and 8 spots from starting the season at number 18. For the women's team, this is their first appearance on the ranked list of the 2022 season. The 3-2 Rebels are 1-0 against ranked opponents this season. The United States Football League inaugural draft took place yesterday and today, and 5 former Rebels heard their name called. Former signal callers Jordan Temu and Shea Patterson were selected 1 and 2 overall. Jordan was selected 2nd overall to the Tampa Bay Bandits, while Shea will be heading to the Michigan Panthers after being the 1st overall choice. Quincy Adebayo will be returning with Patterson as teammates on Michigan Panthers after being selected in the 13th round. Trey Elston, former Rebel cornerback, will be heading to the New Jersey Generals after he was picked in the 9th round. And finally, Derek Jones, another former Rebel cornerback, was also picked in the 9th round and will be heading to New Orleans to play for the Breakers. The United States Football League is gearing up for kickoff this April. That's all I've got for sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at @Rebel_Watch for the latest sports updates.
Thanks, Tyler. This reporter was interrupted by a fan while preparing to go live. Find out who decided to say hi up next on NewsWatch.
I got some Oxy after I hurt my neck. First, I took them to feel better. Then, I just kept taking them. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
We're all just trying to keep things running for those who rely on us. That's why we don't have time to be sick with the flu.
We don't have time for delays.
We don't have time for spills.
Next.
We don't have time for setbacks. Let's be real.
Getting the flu shot
helps you fight the flu.
Get a flu shot for yourself and those around you too.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. If you could see you through my eyes instead of your ego, I believe you'd be surprised to see that you've been blind. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Yeah, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are distinguished as a Carnegie R1 top 2.5% research institution. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
This is my mom. Hold on.
I'm trying to work right now. You over there calling my phone. This is D'Angelo. You can say hi. And don't be holding up traffic because you got cars behind you.
Miles Harris has a fan. The Columbus, Ohio reporter's mom couldn't resist swinging by to say hello to her son while he was out preparing to go live yesterday.
Harris's cameraman just happened to be recording when she drove up and said hello. He later posted the video on his social media with the caption, "Typical Sandy." It has since gone viral.
My mom would definitely do that.
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, and if I ever, I would do that to my child as well. Most definitely.
I don't know about me.
That's all for tonight. For NewsWatch Ole Miss, I'm Hannah Deere.
And I'm Mason Ciano. Make sure to follow us on social media at NewsWatch Ole Miss for the latest updates on Ole Miss and beyond.
Thank you, and good night.